recommendation for newborns to receive the hepatitis B immunization at birth. We'll discuss this and more of today's top stories. I'm Ernie Manous.
And I'm Frank Billingsley. We'll also be joined by Houston City Councilwoman Abbie Kamin, who will talk to us about the city's new gun violence tracking dashboard and her run for Harris County Attorney.
Plus, local author William Dylan Powell on his new book, The Lost Treasures of Houston, which explores the culture and physical history of the Bayou City.
And we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube by going to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. A White House official confirms that the Trump administration is announcing $12 billion in one-time payments to farmers in response to a decrease in export demand in the wake of this year's tariff hikes. The payments will be announced during a roundtable event hosted by President Trump at the White House, featuring affected farmers, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, and Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins. The move comes as the administration looks to placate economic concerns from key Trump constituencies as the tariff effects play out. Netflix and Paramount are in a bidding war for Warner Brothers Discovery. Today, Paramount, a Skydance corporation headed up by the Ellison family, put in an all-cash tender offer for $30 a share. NPR's David Folkenflik reports on the factors that have led Paramount to offer shareholders $18 billion more in cash than Netflix.
Paramount's looking at the landscape and saying we're too small. We can't compete. Netflix is the world's largest streamer. It's the nation's largest streamer. There's also Amazon, which, it bought MGM, which is a small little studio, but it's, Amazon has all the money in the world, the everything store. It's looking at Apple, and it's looking at Disney, which several years ago bulked up by acquiring most of the Murdoch's Fox entertainment properties out there in Hollywood. Paramount says, look, if we combine together, we're two of the old-time studios, Paramount and Warner Brothers. We can do this. We have all these, cable properties. You have cable properties. Let's be in business together. Let's take on these giants.
NPR's David Folkenflik reporting. With a hostile takeover bid looming, it's one battle after another that's given Warner Brothers a reason to celebrate. Paul Anderson's film has scored a leading 9 nominations to the 83rd Golden Globe Awards, including for its cast Leonardo DiCaprio, Deanna Taylor, Sean Penn, and Chase Infinity. Days after members of Congress saw a video of a U.S. military strike on a boat that some are calling a war crime, a Democratic lawmaker alleges Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth does not want that video published. NPR's Luke Garrett reports.
House Armed Services Committee ranking member Adam Smith got to watch the video of the strike on survivors of an attack on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean. Smith, a Democrat from Washington state, called the tape, quote, deeply disturbing on ABC News.
It seems pretty clear they don't want to release this video because they don't want people to see it.
But Republican Senator Eric Schmidt of Missouri told ABC News that the early September follow-on strike and those that followed were all legal.
They're going to carry out their mission. They executed another strike of a narco-terrorist just this past week. Those will continue, and they're completely authorized. I reviewed the 40-plus page memo by the Office of Legal Counsel.
Hegseth said the Pentagon is reviewing the strike footage to determine if it can be released. Luke Garrett, NPR News, Washington.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average is now down 239 points, or 0.5%, at 47,716. From Washington, it's NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. 6 p.m. today is the deadline for candidates to file to run in Texas's March 2026 primary elections. News 88.7 political reporter Andrew Schneider says Democrats are frustrated but hopeful after the Supreme Court ruled the state can use its 2025 redistricting map for the congressional midterms.
Texas Democratic Party Chairman Kendall Scudder accuses Republicans of playing games with the maps to avoid responsibility to the voters. But he says in the aftermath of this year's prolonged fight over redistricting, his party has new energy.
I think that the Democrats are going to have more candidates on the ballot this year than we have ever had. I think it's going to be a really impressive lineup for Democrats. And that spells really bad news for Republicans.
The Republican Party of Texas did not respond to multiple requests for comment. I'm Andrew Schneider, News 88.7.
Meanwhile, former Texas Congressman Colin Allred announced he is dropping out of the race for U.S. Senate. The former Dallas representative says he will instead run for the 33rd Congressional District in North Texas. The Democratic primary race to challenge Republican Senator John Cornyn is now between State Representative James Tallarico and possibly Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, who has been an outspoken critic of President Trump. She may announce her candidacy today before the 6 p.m. filing deadline. Former Astro Jeff Kent is now a member of the Baseball Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame President Josh Rawitch made the announcement.
He played 17 seasons with the Blue Jays, the Mets, the Indians, the Giants, the Astros, and the Dodgers, retiring as the all-time leader in home runs as a second baseman with 351 of his 377 career long balls coming at that position.
Kent played 2 seasons with the Astros. He was the only player selected to the Hall from the contemporary baseball era players ballot. Former Springwoods High School pitching star Roger Clemens did not receive enough votes and won't be on the ballot again until 2031. It's 52 degrees right now on the University of Houston campus. Sunny today with highs in the upper 50s. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Made in Cookware. Made in Cookware is crafted by chefs for use in restaurants and home kitchens around the world. Their cookware can be found at madeincookware.com. This is NPR.
Live from the University of Houston, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now here's your host for Hello Houston, Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
We're back. It's Monday.
It is Monday.
We're not all back. 2 out of 3 are back.
I
Celeste
know.
has
Celeste,
the day off. So.
Yeah, she had a busy day. You know, when you have kids, the time flies, right?
Yeah.
It sneaks up on you.
You have your radio kids today. Frank and Ernie here with you for the next 2 hours.
Sounds so PBS, doesn't it?
Doesn't it?
The Frank and Ernie Show.
And you know, if you want to have a part in a community, you could be a YouTuber. Those are the folks that follow our show on YouTube, and they have adapted that name, YouTubers.
Yep.
So go on over to YouTube. You can get there by going to our website, houstonpublicmedia.org, or just going on YouTube and looking for Hello Houston. And as we do the show, we broadcast live on YouTube every day. And we've got quite a vocal group of folks that listen in and chat in the group. So why don't you join them, and we'll take a look at what you have to say when you do all that.
Alex is already saying on YouTube that I wasn't kidding. The ending of the morning show was insane.
Don't say anything. I haven't watched it yet, folks.
It's great. She loved it.
Away.
Alex loved it. I loved it. You'll love it.
I'll love it. Okay.
It really is good.
I think the first episode, I may have mentioned this before, the very first episode of that show, I think anybody who wants to be a producer in the media should watch that. To the lengths they go to get that guest. When you're sitting there at home and you hear we have a guest on the show for a couple of minutes, 5, 10, 15 minutes, you think, oh, wow, they call. Yep. The work that goes into securing each one of those so that we can give you the kind of show that you deserve every single day. It's a lot of work, and they're often the unsung heroes behind the scenes, our producers.
Oh, yeah, but they are the producers. They produce what you hear and see, whether it's radio or television or podcast. Somebody has to produce it.
But anyway, we send our love out to all our producers and everyone who works in this field, who produces and doesn't get the FaceTime folks like Frank and I get.
Yeah, right. But, I had a cold face this morning. It was chilly.
Oh, it was.
It was, and the dogs have to go out, and they don't mind it, but I do. I go out.
So how long are we going to keep this cold? I already told you, I'm starting to get a little over the cold.
I
know I was
said that.
Pulling it in all this time.
You begged for it. Here it is. It's going to be cold today, only a high of 58, so it's going to be chilly. And then tonight down to 42, tomorrow back in the 50s. Then we'll slowly warm up into the 70s by Thursday. I don't have a lot of rain in the forecast. It looks like a dry week all the way through.
I don't mind the cold when I think the problem for me was the last few days.
It was dreary.
That damp cold. cold.
Raw. It's
you
just
never
raw and
get
gross.
warm. From
I get you. I'm with you on that. Yes.
Though I did have trouble with the weather when it was Saturday night lighting the Christmas tree. Went and did that at City Hall with the mayor. And I thought, I know what I'm going to wear. I'm going to wear a coat with a big fake fur collar and fur cuffs on. And I'm up there, and I was sweating so bad. By the end,
How
I
did that
changed
go?
just into
so
a
you got
flannel
lit
shirt.
Saturday night. Huh?
Well, the whole city got lit Saturday
Good.
night. We lit the Christmas tree there in front of City Hall. A good turnout, a great concert. Brian McKnight was there. Aiden Alvarez was there. Caleb and John from KSBJ. They brought them in, a Christian pop duo.
Nice.
For a country duo, I should say, from Nashville.
It's a nice
it was a wonderful
entertainment.
party. Yeah. But you had a fun party over the weekend.
Well, a bunch. We were at friends on Kirby Drive in fashionable River Oaks because we're bougie that way for sure. But it's a lovely Christmas party we always go to. Bill and Dominique, Bill Baeza and his wife, and Dominique Saxo, she was in town. So the five of us went to dinner. Mm-hmm. We had our trainer party Saturday afternoon, and then we met up with them and went to Bombetta, which is, it used to be in I call it a 7-Eleven, but it was it's like a Quick Mart.
Yeah.
And they made this into a restaurant. And
There's a lot of those great little pockets around the city.
Fantastic. And because it's small, it's intimate and it's cozy and white tablecloths and great wine. They only serve wine and beer as far as liquor is concerned. They don't have a liquor license, but they have great wines, great pasta. I know, get a reservation. You don't just pop in. And then one of the highlights was Share Your Blessings, which is a legacy fundraiser that Jim Sikorsky heads up.
Yes.
And that's one of our charities that we support, and we help sponsor that party. But it was at the Palm, and a great buffet and silent auction, live auction, and they do great work for legacy and HIV/AIDS.
Well, we had, of course, the tree lighting. Friday night was more get some errands done, run around, shop, things like that. And then Sunday was kind of a quiet day at home, too. We took Mom out for a burger.
Oh, good.
So she always gets the kids' meal.
Champ Burger?
No, actually, they're not open on Sunday. Can't go
so
there.
Where do you go for a Sunday burger?
Burger Joint.
Burger, is that really the name of it?
Yeah.
Burger Joint.
So Mom went, she had her little, I'm seeing a nod from Tiffany over on the board. Yeah, she had a little burger. She had some French fries. She had a milkshake. She was very happy, so it was a good night out. Okay. But as we were living our weekend, the world continued to revolve around us.
Colin Allred has dropped out of the Senate race, but has plans that we'll discuss. That's going to be coming up.
Abbie Kamin, she made an announcement at the end of the week. In addition to an initiative she has been working very hard on, she's going to be here to talk about that with us.
Yeah, and then Lost Treasures of Houston. That's going to be that's a new book. And I started reading some of it. And you really do. I mean, remember some of these old, speaking of steakhouses and different restaurants. Or one's a meal. I mean, just gone.
Someone was talking to me about that the other day.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about some of it. And I think we'll get a lot of people calling in to tell us what they remember and maybe miss. Astro World,
Yeah. Remember, you are welcome to join any of the conversations we're having, either through the phone or to text us, 713-440-8870. But as always, we start off with the headlines, and today Frank is going to lead us in.
All right. In a historic vote, the Centers for the Disease Control and Prevention's vaccine advisors recommended narrowing the agency's hepatitis B immunization guidance for newborns. So that's when it happens when, especially children can get these in utero. So they need the vaccine as soon as they're born, and so they've been doing this since 1991. 30 years they've been immunizing children. It has saved hundreds of thousands of lives, and especially as they become adults, they're immune to Hep B, and so they want to stop this. The Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, called ACIP, voted 8-3 to recommend hepatitis B at birth only for infants born to women who test positive for the virus. If you don't know what Hep B does, it attacks your liver and it can kill you and give you chronic cirrhosis. It's a very tough disease. The changes were made over the strong objections of liaisons from the medical community who say the decades-long universal birth dose policy has dramatically reduced cases of hepatitis B in United States children. What are your thoughts on taking away this immunization? Call 713-440-8870. I don't like making these too personal, but my neighbor Rob Bledsoe back in the 70s died at age 6 from Hep B.
Oh, wow.
And so, he was I was older than him by a few years, but he was a little kid in the neighborhood, 6 years old, and died I guess it was about 1976 when he died. And it's just so unnecessary when you have this vaccine. Thank God that God gave us the vaccine. Mm-hmm. And now you want to say, well, unless the mother has it. But these children, there's all kinds of ways. It's microscopic. In adults, it's usually transmitted the same way HIV is, just either sharing needles or sex. Not transfusion so much anymore. But, as an adult, you can still get it. But children, microscopic blood molecules can give you Hep B. And then they have their immune system is still developing.
Yeah. Well, it not only that, it has proven itself successful.
Yes.
And it has proven itself safe. And the concern is once you start doing things like this and changing recommendations at that level, it also changes the way insurances and the way it's funded and who pays for it and how people get paid, how people get these vaccines, and causes oftentimes disparities in who gets coverage. And so folks with more money and better maybe medical care and more can afford to do these things will be able to immunize their children. Those who can't won't immunize theirs. It's just it's a slippery slope.
I mean, to be clear, it's not being outlawed. They're not saying you can't get your newborn child. And usually the first 24 hours is when you should do this.
Right.
So they're not saying you can't do it. They're just recommending against it if the mother is not positive with Hep B. So where it's been for 30 years just standard to give them the vaccine as soon as they're born, now they're saying discuss it with your doctor. So that gives me, at least they're not outlawing it or something.
Right.
So there is a chance. But the
CDC making a policy shift like that,
and
then it gives
down.
Insurance a place to say, because as we watch, and Sharon, we'll be talking more about healthcare and the ACA later on in the show today too, but it gives them a foot to stand on to say, well, maybe we don't have to cover this. It does. There's recommendations here, there are recommendations there, but if we're looking at ways to save money and cut money, we're not going to fully fund this. We're not going to have free vaccines for this. We're not going to pay that much for that. I think it's very dangerous. As I often say, I go into the Walgreens or whatever, and I like hit me with every vaccine.
Oh yeah,
what's available for me today?
And the only one that's ever really sort of turned me over is the shingles vaccine. That really, I was like, oh man, because they always say that getting a vaccine doesn't do anything to you, and people say, oh, it makes me sick, and they say, no, it doesn't. I'll tell you, that shingles vaccine hit me pretty hard, but that's the only one. Flu vaccines and COVID vaccines, I don't even notice it. But yes, you're right. This thing has not done any harm. The insurance companies now can have a leg to stand on to say, we're not going to cover it. But don't forget, there is a population that is not vaccine or even medically savvy. And they're going to just do what they're told.
Right.
And we are a very paternalistic medical approach. Take 2 pills, aspirin, calming in the morning. We do what the doctor tells us.
Yeah.
And if the doctor doesn't say, oh, yeah, you should have that, a lot of people won't do it.
And as always, we'd like to remind you, we are not medical professionals here. We have opinions, but that's about what we've got. Always discuss these things with your healthcare provider. Granted, you have one. Make sure you have these conversations. It's important for you to know. And give us a call here with what are your thoughts about this immunization recategorization, if that's the right way to put it. 713-440-8870. Over our YouTubers, my British computer guy says, so was it the advisors or was it just RFK Jr. flexing? Because he had earlier in his career, or till recently in his career, been against vaccinations. Then when he was in his hearings to become the health secretary, he suddenly had a more comfortable position on vaccines, but now he's rearing his head back again.
Well, we have a doctor on the line, Dr. Troisi.
Oh, Dr. Troisi, who is a regular visitor with us all the time. She's been on this show a few times, and she was also on Town Square quite a bit during COVID. Dr. Troisi, what's on your mind today?
Hey, about the hepatitis B vaccine.
Yes.
So let me explain a little bit about hepatitis B. If a baby or really young child is infected, they have a 90% chance of becoming a carrier of that virus for the rest of. That is why we vaccinate at birth. The changed recommendations say to only vaccinate at birth children who are born to hepatitis B infected mothers. That sounds like it makes sense, right? Except that we tried that. The problem is that in the United States, 1 out of 4 women have no prenatal care. And so they can't get tested because they're not seeing a doctor. Even women who do have prenatal care, either their doctor may not order it, or it's ordered early in the pregnancy and they get infected with hepatitis B later on. So nobody, you don't know that mom is infected. And so the reason we have had such success in not eliminating, we still have cases of hepatitis B, but significantly decreasing the number of cases, is because we vaccinate every child at birth. Mm-hmm. The vaccine has been shown to be safe. It's been in use for over 40 years. There have been a lot of studies on it. It is safe, it is effective, and it protects these babies against chronic hepatitis B, which can lead to cirrhosis and liver cancer. It is the first vaccine we have developed to protect against cancer.
So, Dr. Troisi, do you have any insight as to why the CDC has taken this measure?
Well, I would first say it's the ACIP that did this, not CDC, but it's obviously not science-based, and the ACIP has new membership under RFK Jr., and many of the new members are not immunologists or vaccinologists or epidemiologists, and they have an ideology.
Mm-hmm. And it's clearly not scientific, as you say.
Yes.
Yes, I know.
That's true.
I know. I hear exactly what you're saying. I know it's hard to say, but I hear you. Thank you for calling and straightening us out on some of that. We really appreciate the call. Call anytime.
Thank you, Dr. Troisi. And come in and visit us in studio, and we'll talk more about this another time and take more calls.
You tell me the date. I'll be there.
Thank you, Dr. Troisi. Always a calm, logical voice in a crazy world sometimes. 713-440-8870. Electric from the Medical Center is on the line. Did I get your name right?
Yes, sir, you did.
Okay, please share with us. What are you thinking?
Thank you for allowing me to speak. I just wanted to share my agreement in removing any and all vaccine mandates. Okay. People have autonomy over their own body, and they're by the rights, inalienable rights that have been given to us by God, have the right to choose what they want to do. So forcing somebody to inject themselves with something just because you believe in the ideology or the next person believes in the ideology goes against the principles of God and people's spirituality and religious beliefs. And therefore, anybody should be given the right to either accept the vaccine or reject the vaccine. So what you may feel works for you may not work for me. And I may not believe in the same thing you believe in, whether you think it's verified by science or whatever, or maybe I have a higher understanding of it than maybe you do based on your science. And so I should be able to go with what works for me.
Well, I respect your opinion, Electric, but let me ask you this.
I'm trying to summarize all my thoughts, without trying to, go so deep into it.
But. Right. Does the fact that this vaccine has been around since 1991 and has had such success with so few, in fact, with no bad repercussions, nothing but good has come from this since 1991. Does that not sway your opinion at all?
No. Again, you're entitled to believe that, you're entitled to accept that as being true, and you're entitled to go along with that. But that doesn't mean you get to force me and tell me your beliefs should be my beliefs, and I have to go by what you believe.
Correct, but that's not a belief I have. I'm looking at numbers. I'm looking at numbers. I'm looking at that children are not dying like they used to in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s. Hundreds of thousands of children would die from hepatitis B in those decades, and now they're not. So it's not a belief, it's a fact.
Again, you're choosing to believe those numbers as being presented as fact and everything like that. So,
Electric.
I'm trying to respect you
Yeah, let me ask a
but
question that might clarify this point for listeners here. If I'm hearing you correctly, that your stance isn't necessarily in regards to the science of the effectiveness of the vaccines. It's the concept that somebody else is telling you what to do with your body, and when you should be injected or not injected. That's the bigger issue here for you, correct?
Correct. That's what I'm saying. I respect that you believe that and all that, but I don't go by science. I go by natural law. I go by the Creator's law, and I go by the Creator's gift of healing and the body's natural ability to heal and all these different things. So, because you believe in science and you believe in man's law and all that kind of stuff, doesn't give you the right to supersede my Creator's design and order and my spiritual and religious beliefs.
Electra, thank you for sharing your point of view. I appreciate that, so we can hear other sides of this debate when we talk about it, and I appreciate your calling.
Yeah, I think you could argue that the Creator is the one who gave man and women the knowledge to come up with these vaccines. So it does kind of go in circles here.
Yeah. 713-440-8870. That's where you can call anytime you want to join us and share your point of view on the topics we're discussing.
Okay. Abbie Kamin's in-house.
Yes, coming up on Hello Houston. Houston Councilwoman Abbie Kamin is here. She's going to be talking with us about the city's new gun violence tracking dashboard. This is Hello Houston on News 88.7.
Houston Matters. Hi, I'm Lenny Ambrose from St. Arnold Brewing Company, proud supporters of Houston Public Media. Right now, with your $60 donation, you can choose tickets to News and Brews. This member-exclusive event takes place February 17th. Enjoy a pint, connect with fellow NPR fans, and meet the Houston Public Media Newsroom in person. Select News and Brews tickets when you donate at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
You'll hear from people who really make you think, like astrophysicist Brian Greene explaining the scientific theory that our universe is just one of many.
And the image that I like to have in mind is, imagine that our universe is like one slice of bread in a much grander cosmic loaf, with the other slices of bread being other universes.
No subject is too big for fresh air. Join us.
Fresh Air, weekdays at 8 p.m. on News 88.7.
I'm Stephen Dubner, host of Freakonomics Radio. Every week, Freakonomics Radio explores the hidden side of, well, everything, from the economics of sleep to when is the best time to rob a bank. So tune in next time on Freakonomics Radio.
Freakonomics, Mondays at 9 p.m. on News 88.7.
Tonight on Houston Public Media TV8, it's a double dose of treasures and trinkets with an Antiques Roadshow double feature. At 7, explore the era of Generation X. And at 8, it's Junk in the Trunk 13. Tonight on TV8. Support comes from SunnyPro, a Houston-based business advisory firm providing consulting solutions, specializing in mergers, acquisitions, divestitures, and valuations for exit planning. Details at sunnypro.com or follow at SunnyPro LLC.
And now back to Hello Houston. Join the conversation. Call now, 713-440-8870, or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Houston is rolling out a bold new tool aimed at changing how we understand and tackle gun violence. Safe Watch Houston, launched by Abbie Kamin, City Council member for District C, is the nation's first dashboard to merge hospital trauma data, emergency response records, and police reports into a single public-facing database. The goal? To give residents, policymakers, and public health officials a clear, data-driven view of who's being hurt, where, and why. from shootings that are reported to police to injuries that never make it into crime logs. Joining us now in studio to walk through what SafeWatch is showing and what it could mean for Houston's approach to gun violence prevention is Council Member Abbie Kamin. Abbie, good morning. Welcome to Hello Houston in studio for the first time.
It's great to be here.
Well, folks have a question for you. They can certainly call us at 713-440-8870. All right, explain SafeWatch to me.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't realize we know how many firearm deaths related to firearms there are in our nation. Mm-hmm. But what most people don't realize is we don't actually know how many injuries there are. We don't have that data. And that's surprising to a lot of people. So it's important to say that.
Why don't we? Is it not reported by ERs or just people don't go to the ER?
Everyone's going to the ER. It's not being captured in crime statistics necessarily. They're not being reported to HPD, for example. What the data now shows that we have, and I'm happy to explain that, we saw a 70% gap between when we look at crime statistics, which as a council member, you're poring over crime data, right? Trying to create prevention and intervention strategies. 70% are going to the ER or being rushed to a trauma center, and we never know about it. It's been this invisible health crisis, an invisible epidemic. And as a mom, I think about when you put your child to bed, there are so many families, including in Houston, that are putting their kids to bed not realizing what can happen to their child the next day.
Before we get into the nuts and bolts of it all, I'm just curious, why do you think that gap even existed? Why were we not? How did we miss all of this data for all of this time? And what opened your eyes to say, look at this, we need to know these numbers because it impacts everything we do moving forward?
Yeah, well, and look, last segment we were talking about doctors and the importance of the medical community. It was the medical community that opened my eyes to all of this. But the reason we don't have a lot of this is for a long time under federal law, the Dickey Amendment in the 90s, we were not seeing the funding, and there was a hesitancy to actually look at all of this comprehensively. That's all changing now. And what we do know is that firearms are the #1 killer of children in the United States. And when our trauma surgeons are seeing every single day a child being rushed in because of this, they're saying we need help. And what we were told is that what is needed is this type of data, this dashboard. And it's important that it's publicly accessible because, yes, the medical community can harness this and utilize this the same way we've done with car crashes, the same way we've done with pool drownings and strokes and diabetes. But it's also available to the public because every single one of us can be doing something to prevent tragedy from occurring.
So what have we found out with SafeWatch?
Yeah, so what we're seeing in addition to this massive gap in reporting is that tragically unintentional shootings, which is what I'm really focused on, unintentional shootings of children is silently increasing. Last year alone, over half of all unintentional shootings were children and young adults under the age of 24. And what that number added up to was at least one child rushed to a trauma center every single week here in Houston.
So not really gun violence, just gun misappropriation, gun accidents.
Accidents. Yeah. You think, look, we do firearm safety education in District C, and we want to broaden that throughout the city now because of the data that we're seeing. But we do free gun lock and gun safe distributions. We've been at elementary schools where we say, hey, do you have a firearm in the home? And the mom has literally said, no, we don't have a firearm. Then we say, well, do you have a family member that has a firearm? And the mom said, no, we don't have a family member. And the little girl pulled on mom's shirt and said, no, mommy, grandpa has a gun and it's under the bed.
Wow.
And more often than not, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but more often than not, a child knows where a firearm is stored in the home and has handled that firearm without the parent's knowledge. No parent, no grandparent, no friend wants the unthinkable to happen, but it's happening. So this is about education. This isn't politics. This is prevention. And every single one of us can do that, especially, I want to remind listeners, over the holidays. We see an uptick. Kids are home, you're visiting family, you're dropping kids off at a friend's home. The awareness matters, and that's why this dashboard matters.
So explain a little bit about what you do with this data. Once you see these problems that a lot of us have suspected are out there, but now you've got numbers behind it, how does that turn into the future for us?
Yeah, so evidence-based interventions, and that's a fancy way of saying when you have evidence, you can create interventions, health-based interventions. And that can decrease unintentional injuries 30 to 50% in other scenarios. So when experts can now go work with pediatricians when you talk about pediatric screening. So like when I delivered my son at the hospital, they talk about how to install the car seat safely, right? That same type of education, if we're working with pediatricians, if doctors are looking at this, and also as a community, we're focused on things that the data is showing. For example, we can break things down, and I want to emphasize it's all HIPAA protected, data is scrubbed. This is just looking at the numbers, not sensitive information, but we can break it down by zip code.
Well, to that end, Charlie Parker on YouTube says you would have to work with hospitals to get the data pulled from the hospital's emergency rooms. Is that true?
Yes.
And in that light, but you're not pulling anything that is HIPAA protected.
No, and that is why it's taken us 3 years of hard work to get this together. And I want to thank, look, we are home. Houston is home to the largest medical center in the world. We have all of this at our hands, but we had to bring everyone together. We had to be working with our trauma centers. So we have UT Health, Memorial Hermann, Texas Children's, and Ben Taub, all working together now and sharing this information with the city. This is a hub that's collecting HPD, EMS and 911 calls, medical examiner, ER data from throughout the area. But then our level 1 trauma centers are really what brought all of this home.
So I guess it's to make us aware, more so than we realize, that this is a big problem, and therefore we could be more inclined to do something about
Almost phrase it as we learn, we can react. Right?
Yeah, and what I'll use the example of strokes.
Yeah.
So it is very standard for the city of Houston to monitor things like strokes.
Why?
That way,
why do we monitor that?
Because then we can say, oh, we're seeing a higher concentration here. We need more education in this part of town. And we need to position our mobile stroke units to respond faster to a larger portion. It's the same type of thing here when we can go in and say, oh, for children, we're seeing unintentional shootings in these zip codes at a higher rate. We need to be reaching those families more. It may be more, for example, on the tragedy of suicide with a firearm. That may be a more kind of suburban area, and you're seeing older white men. And okay, that's a different type of crisis intervention that we need to be working on. So this allows us to take steps to save lives in a very meaningful, impactful way. But I want to go back to the doctors. When doctors say this is what we need, we've got to listen to the doctors, and we've got to do everything that we can to save lives.
What about some of the critics that say it stigmatizes particular neighborhoods or particular populations, and that it could have an inverse reaction, a negative reaction to how we view parts of our community?
Yeah, I think that it's a valid question.
Yeah.
But the data may show, okay, a family in this zip code, there's more families being impacted, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's where the unintentional shootings are happening. And you can also look at that. So just because there may be a focus on, hey, this area has a higher rate of families being impacted, that doesn't mean that's where a shooting is occurring. So we have to make sure that we're not that we're looking at the facts and just the facts and not reading more into something to save the lives of our children.
We have a number of good questions here. First of all, at what point, if ever, is a hospital required to report a gunshot wound?
I don't know the exact answer to that, and I would want to defer to our medical community, to the doctors, because again, you want patients to show up for treatment. You want patients to trust doctors and know that they are not necessarily going to be involving law enforcement if that's going to prevent them from getting the health care they need. But if there's a crime involved, that's also critical information. So I'm not going to answer that. I would defer to the medical community about what their policies are.
Okay, we have one from District C. I live in District C and have seen no, all caps, no gun safety programs.
Please reach out to our office at District C at HoustonTX.gov. We have been throughout the district, our focus has been on schools and community events. So we work with PTOs. We work in the community at actually Freedom Over Texas, our 4th of July, big city celebration. We partner with HPD. All of this started in partnership with HPD through a campaign we called Lock It Up Safe. And so we've been throughout the district. And if you're interested, if anyone is interested, not just in getting a gun lock or a gun safe for free, but you would like us to come in with our partners at HPD or with the medical community, other organizations, we would be more than happy to work with you on that.
Here's another, and this does seem to make sense. Is it possible the rise in gun accidents correlates to the removal of all gun control and licensing requirements?
There likely could be. I want to emphasize this isn't about gun control. This is about firearm safety. And we have been working with organizations that have that are firearm rights advocate groups that still want to emphasize responsible gun ownership. So yes, I would say that Texas has some of the higher rates, but we also, again, in terms of walking blind right now, we don't know what other cities' data really is because nothing like this exists. This is the first, most comprehensive dashboard of its kind in the nation.
What about drug overdoses? You said strokes, like we need to educate these people, obviously with gun safety. Do they must record when someone comes in and they're overdosing on drugs? And can you narrow down zip codes where we're seeing more drug use or drug abuse?
I can't speak to that specifically. I know that hospitals are absolutely tracking. I will say on this dashboard in particular, there's actually with certain data, not every tab includes everything because we're still trying to make everything uniform. But on some of the tabs, for example, with trauma center visits, with the firearm injury dashboard, it can show if there was alcohol or narcotics involved.
I want to remind everyone we are talking to City Council member Abbie Kamin. And Abbie, also let me give a phone number, 713-440-8870. Folks want to join in the conversation. To go back to the dashboard, the mayor, and I'm going to misquote him a little bit, but the general gist was, hey, it's a great idea, but is it worth the money?
It absolutely is worth the money. And it's a little surprising to hear. I hadn't heard that, but the mayor questioning things when it was his administration that we worked with and that authorized the funding for this. And they have been incredible partners. I want to say that, both Mayor Turner's administration and the Whitmire administration. When you look at what gun violence costs us as a nation, it's over $500 million every year. Every single day, that breaks down to over $7 million. One firearm injury costs taxpayers, employers, the families over $25,000.
Wow.
So if we talk about the cost, absolutely, and a dashboard like this is sustainable. It's not an increasing cost. It's the standard things that the city of Houston does with other, like I said, other types of health-based needs that we track. But I want to make sure we're bringing it back to the fact that this is saving lives, and you cannot put a price on the life of a child.
How exactly is it saving lives? Just through education?
Through education, through intervention, through awareness. But again, it's the actions that we are now able to take because we have this information. We are not walking blind trying to address something without getting the whole picture.
Well, one comment says that nurses and doctors know what is happening, and we've been asking for help, begging for help. So it sounds like they're all on board.
They have all been on board. They have been incredible partners. They were the inspiration, in addition to the fact that I am so sick and tired of seeing headline after headline of a child that got a hold of a firearm and either lost their life or hurt someone else. And we, again, can do something about that. And we are doing something about that. And Houston's leading the way, but this is a blueprint that the rest of the country can use.
Yeah. Talk to me a little about reframing gun violence as a public health issue as opposed to a crime statistic.
Yeah. For far too long, politics have gotten in the way of us taking action. When gun violence is the leading cause of death for children in the United States. That is something we must act on with urgency. It's the same thing that we did when car crashes were the leading cause of death. So why should this be any different when it's about saving children's lives and when this is about our families? Because again, I think about, as a Houstonian, what it's like when your child is the one being rushed to a trauma center and there's a family every single week going through that nightmare.
Absolutely.
Can we access SafeWatch yet?
Yes. Thank you for asking the question. You can go to houstonhealth.org/SafeWatch. So again, houstonhealth.org/SafeWatch. It's publicly available information. It's for everyone to use. Anyone can reach out to our office as well.
We have 2 minutes.
Yeah,
you have a future that's going to change. You're going to leave city council and run for Harris County attorney?
I am. This was a difficult decision, right? But I honestly couldn't take it anymore. Seeing the constant attacks from President Trump on our families, the attacks that Greg Abbott and Ken Paxton are bringing against just local authority. I really looked at, after this position came open, how I can make the biggest difference possible and be in this fight in a bigger way. And it has been an honor representing District C. As county attorney, I will be able to not only continue to represent the people that I work with every single day in the district, but our entire city and the county.
So Chris Menifee has resigned the position. He's just held over for now. So what happens? What happens now? Special election?
Yes. So the city and the county are working through that. There's a lot of different laws and rules and regulations that dictate when you cannot have a special election, but there will be a special election for District C. And that as soon as we know what that date is, we'll be making sure that we're pushing that out.
So really quickly then, so do you stay in this position for how long up until until there's a date set or until the election? How long do you remain where you're at?
I will continue to fight every single day for District C. On the way over, we were working on an apartment fire and resettling and relocating, working with the Red Cross for our residents that are the most desperately in need right now. So we'll continue that until someone else is elected as the next council member for District C.
All right. Council member Abbie Kamin, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having taken the time to come into the studio today.
Thank you all, and I want to remind everyone, holidays is an important time. Make sure your firearms are stored securely. When you're going to family and friends' homes, ask those questions. No judgment. We're here to help.
And check out SafeWatch.
Check
See
out
that
SafeWatch.
information. It's fascinating.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, Lost Treasures in Houston. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
We know you value Houston Public Media. That's why you're watching right now. So take the next step and become a new member of the station you rely on. Every gift makes a difference. And what matters most right now is supporting the station that brings you the news and information you rely on. It only takes a minute to make a big difference. So join as a new member today at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate or call 800-364-8300.
/donate or call 888-909-0887.
Support comes from Alley Theater, featuring A Christmas Carol, presented by UT Health Houston, a production inviting families to share the classic story of Ebenezer Scrooge and his Christmas transformation through December 28th. Tickets at alleytheater.org. Support comes from GenPro, a Houston-based home generator service providing power to homes during unexpected outages. More information at genpro.com or by calling 713-597-3521.
And now back to Hello Houston. Join the conversation. Call now 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Okay, this is going to be fun. Houston's been around for a long time, ever since the Allred brothers said, let's create a city, right? And if someone was looking to compile everything great about the city from its 190-year history, you need to write a book. So someone has. Lost Treasures of Houston is a new book by local author William Dylan Powell that explores the cultural and physical history of the Bayou City by celebrating the amazing people, places, and phenomena of our fair city's past. Here to tell us more about it is Dylan Powell. Thank you for joining us in studio here today, and congratulations. It's hard to write a book.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time today. Well, it's certainly a lot of coffee.
Oh, yeah.
Well, before we get chatting, I want to remind everyone, if you've got a hidden treasure or something you want to share or a memory you want to share with us and Dylan, give us a call right now, 713-440-8870.
There's got to be a lot.
Oh, well, the weird thing is looking through, I've been here 30 years. I'm looking through the book and I'm seeing things. Oh, I remember that, and it's already long gone. So Houston churns over so fast. How do you even know where to begin on something like this?
Oh, it was really tough. At first I thought my challenge was going to be, this book has 200 items, a little more than that. And I thought, how am I going to find 200 items that Houston loved and they're gone? Like people, places, phenomenon. That's going to be really hard. And so I asked at least 50 people, and people were so generous with their time and opinions. And turns out I had about 400 at the end, and I was getting calls from my publisher all the time, like, "Bro, you got to cut some of these entries." There may be a whole other book. Who knows?
Remember that? Tough. Was it the old San Francisco Steakhouse?
My uncle loved that place.
And the women would swing and they'd hit the bell with their feet. Some places probably should have gone at some point.
And they put a Target where that is now.
Is that really?
I'm not saying that's terrible, but I don't know that the world was screaming out for another Target as much as I like Target. It's funny. I gave a signing at Cactus Music on Saturday, and this guy comes up to me afterwards. He said, when I was a child, when we moved to Houston, we lived in an apartment in Westheimer, and my next door neighbor was the lady who swung from the swing at old San Francisco Steakhouse. Yeah. It's like, really? Where were you when I was writing this book?
How many things in the book did you not realize were actually gone now? And you're like, oh, that's gone? Because that's what just flipping through it, I was already like, oh, yeah, I haven't seen that in a while.
Spaghetti Warehouse, gone.
Kind of a lot, actually. I don't have amazing powers of observation. We'll be driving down the road. I'll go, is that church new? And my wife will, I think they built it in the 60s. Okay, never mind, Yeah. But it is, you have this impression in your mind of what the city's like. And as you get a little older, like I have, and there's a gap that forms between how you remember the city and then what's actually around you. And that gap gets bigger and bigger. And so that was one inspiration for writing the book. For those of you who remember all these lost things, to say, hey, you're not alone. We too miss old San Francisco Steakhouse. And
let's go through some of them. Give us a laundry list. Let's start with restaurants. I mentioned One's a Meal earlier. Spaghetti Warehouse, that's gone.
Yep, Spaghetti Warehouse is gone. All the old Look Sirloin some of these were before my time. Does anybody remember Vargo's on the west side?
Oh, yeah.
I blame Vargo's for all the peacocks around my neighborhood right now because I think when they closed that place, they just turned the peacocks loose and said, the world is your oyster.
And people, celebrities. I mean, of course, Marvin Sindler was huge.
Oh, yeah. He's such a multifaceted guy. I remember him as the Slime in the Ice Machine guy with the eccentric suits and, really cool. My parents remember him as the investigative journalist that closed down the chicken ranch.
It's gone too.
Best little whorehouse in Texas and all that. Well, before that, he's a prior service Marine and was a crime beat reporter and he was kind of a tough guy. There's so many facets to people. Howard Hughes Jr.
Well, the Howard Hughes, that's an amazing story.
Let me ask you this. All too often, what I hear is people will reminisce about things, and I'll be like, you got your facts all wrong. How often did you find that the reality of the situation and the urban lore or fantasy that has grown up around it don't match?
It can be tough. It can be tough, especially because, the way memory works. Have you ever turn to your partner and say, hey, remember when that happened in this certain way? And they're like, that did not happen at all that way, So pretty often, and, I
tried how did you suss out what was the reality of these places?
A lot of research, had to talk to a lot of people. I had to get more than one source for everything. Wikipedia and ChatGPT are not primary search options.
Did you have particular stories that you can share with us that you just went, wow?
Some of them I can't share. I talked to so many people.
Okay, what are those stories?
Not even. Man, there's so much. Some things just really left a hole in Houston's psyche.
The Oilers, for instance.
The Oilers. When I explained this project to someone, the Oilers came up, and the Astroworld came up a lot. Those are always the first two things.
But see, those are the low-hanging fruit.
That is the low-hanging fruit.
Some of the really more clever, unique, interesting, and surprising things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, do you remember that? And some of them were actually pretty recently lost. Turkey Leg Hut is in the book.
Wow, you're fast.
We'll be.
That just went down, 2 years ago?
I'm waiting for the true crime or whatever, whoever's going to cover that in their movie. I'm waiting for that one. It's going to be good. But I liked that place, too.
But we live in a city that is very quick to tear things down and move forward. It's always an evolving city and a changing city. Does that change how these things are remembered and what is saved and what is lost?
It does a little bit. And, part of what's always lost is who you were when you experienced that thing. Sometimes I wonder, was Grease Lightning such an awesome roller coaster, or is it just because I was 15 and didn't have any responsibilities?
It made me so sick. I remember it. It went way up and came back down. Oh,
I'm always scared of roller coasters.
I was pale after that.
Are you tired of people wherever you go coming up to you now that they know you've done this and giving you yet another story?
I love it, actually. It's great. This past weekend, I was at a different event, and people were just coming up and say, "Oh, I heard that you were including this thing in your book. I have all these photos from my childhood." Like, where were you? But it's fantastic because how a martial arts gets a black belt, and he's like, "I'm an expert now," and the instructor's like, "No, now you're a beginner. You get to learn the things." Now that I've written this book, I just now kind of know the issues, and now people are coming forth and telling me all these interesting things I didn't know. It's really fantastic.
But see, the book makes me feel old because I just opened it now, and there's Scott Gertner's Sky Bar, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, oh wait,
that seems like yesterday."
Right? Yeah,
I love that place.
Stuff.
I watched a full moon rise from Scott Gertner's Sky Bar once.
That's fantastic. He had a different place on Memorial. Towards the end there.
So Alex says she misses Tio Pepe's.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that place.
I know it's in your book or not.
I don't think it is.
But the haunted spaghetti warehouse downtown, and then Rice Epicurean.
Yes, Rice Epicurean.
I think it's funny that you look at old malls. And you forget, because they were such a part of the community. People knew their malls. Those were gathering places.
Was it culture? Was it consumerism? I don't know. I didn't care.
Was it both?
I was at the merry-go-round buying like a fingerless driving glove for some reason in the 80s. Why was that important? But, my parents grew up during the department store generation. And, I grew up during peak mall. So it was like Orange Julius and all that stuff. And then today it's the era of online shopping. So.
How many things are still there but have changed their identity? Like I think of Foley's downtown and the old building facade may still be there, but it's had a whole different life that people don't realize what it once was.
That's actually an excellent example. That old Foley's building, fantastic bit of Art Deco architecture back in the day.
I love Foley's. Was it the Red Apple sale? Is that what they did?
Yeah, yes, they did.
I love the Red Apple sale.
Any clothes shopping for back to school, did my mother take me there, and now that one downtown is it's now the Ion Center. Actually, I have a different book coming out in February called Texas Then and Now that talks about specifically some buildings. It's a little more architectural, some buildings on one like pre-World War II photos, and then contemporary photos and how they've changed. And the Ion is a great example of that. They're doing like tech incubation, and I think Rice, maybe Microsoft.
How long will it be before people forget it was the Sears? That's that whole changeover of the mindset all the time in this city is
not
fascinating.
Very long. I feel like I can walk around and say, I remember there were cows on this road. That makes me feel so old. Cows in Houston? Where are the cows in Houston? Other than the rodeo.
Lyle Lovett will also often say, I lived way out in the country when I was born. Now I live in the city and I never moved.
It's very true. It's very true.
How this whole world has changed. Will you come back when the new book comes out and tell us about that one?
Yeah, absolutely. Fulshere's the new Katie.
You forget the Houston Post is gone. I forgot.
Right, that's the thing.
The Houston Press is gone.
I know. That's true.
We've lost a lot of great people, as you mentioned.
Progress isn't always bad, but it is definitely different. I was always saying that the actionable thing that you can take from this book is that if there's something that's not lost yet, give it a hug and cherish it. Like I was just at Cactus Music on Saturday. Love that place. It's a current treasure. So if you have those current treasures in your life, it's time to enjoy them before they're
Hold on and love them.
Well, it's a
while you
lovely
have them.
book, and it's got all the great pictures and all to go with it.
Yes.
Yeah, so I definitely
Thank you, sir.
recommend
You're
it.
very
On
kind.
Amazon, of course, like every other book in the world, I'm sure.
That's correct, or any local bookstore, and I'll actually be at Good on Paper in the Heights at 7:30 on Thursday. Giving
Oh,
a sign.
good. Doing some autographs.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you very much for coming in and sharing Lost Treasures of Houston. I looked through it. I didn't see Frank in there yet, but I guess you have to die first, right?
I'll have field day some
Yeah.
days.
Is it cold in here or not?
William Dylan Powell is the author of Lost Treasures of Houston. Thank you for joining us. Coming up, we got more to do in the show, including staying in the same thing, the Heritage Society at Sam Houston Park. They're going to be here talking a little bit about what we're preserving of our history, not just what we've lost. You're listening to Hello Houston right here on News 88.7.
Stay tuned. There's more Hello Houston on the way with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from Discovery Green Conservancy and H-Town Holiday Lights by H-Town Frankie, a light display set to music and inspired by Houston's hip-hop culture, presented by PNC. More information at discoverygreen.com.
54 degrees at the University of Houston. Sunshine predicted through the rest of the week. High today near 60, overnight low near 40. I'm Tiffany Taylor. This is your NPR station, KUHF Houston, News 88.7, a service of the University of Houston. It's 12 o'clock.
Just add on this hour of Hello Houston, Colin Allred has dropped out of the U.S. Senate race, saying he will instead run for Congress again in the newly redrawn 33rd District. We'll discuss this and more as we continue diving into today's top stories. I'm Frank Billingsley.
And I'm Ernie Manous. We'll also talk with a senior policy analyst at KFF about expiring Obamacare subsidies and what's at stake for everyday families.
Plus, Alison Bell, Executive Director of the Heritage Society, will join us to discuss their efforts in sharing the stories of Houston's diverse history.
And we want to hear from you. Give us a call or text at 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Just go to houstonpublicmedia.org.
Hello Houston is made possible in part by founding sponsors John Bradshaw and Kathy Sanders, and by gifts from listeners like you.
Live from NPR News, I'm Lakshmi Singh. Healthcare subsidies that were expanded during the pandemic expire at the end of the month. NPR's Deirdre Walsh reports on the push on Capitol Hill to renew them to spare tens of millions of Americans from higher costs.
The Senate will vote this week on a Democratic bill that extends existing healthcare tax credits for 3 years. Senate Majority Leader John Thune says it is not a serious proposal. The Democrats' bill is not expected to advance, and Thune has not decided if the GOP will put up its own alternative. In the House, Virginia Republican Jen Kiggins is pushing a bipartisan proposal for a shorter extension.
I have 40,000 people in my district who rely on this health care, and doing nothing to prevent a spike in their premiums is wrong.
House Speaker Mike Johnson says he will unveil a bill this week and hold a vote before the end of the year. Lawmakers from both parties say if President Trump fails to negotiate a deal, Congress won't be able to head off major price increases. Deirdre Walsh, NPR News.
Hamas says it's willing to lay down its weapons against Israeli forces in a ceasefire in Gaza. In Doha, Qatar, NPR's Daniel Estrin reports on that and more from his interview with a senior member of the Palestinian militant group.
Bassem Naim is a member of Hamas's political leadership who survived Israeli airstrikes on Hamas leaders in Qatar in September. He tells NPR that Hamas in Gaza is willing to store its weapons with guarantees that they would not use them against Israel as long as there are political negotiations to create a Palestinian state.
We are ready to lay down these weapons. I mean, not to use it for 5, 7, 10 years, as long as we are not attacked.
Previously, Hamas had not been willing to discuss laying down its weapons. It's unclear if Israel and Hamas can reach an agreement on what will happen with the weapons. Israel demands Gaza be demilitarized. Daniel Estrin, NPR News, Doha, Qatar.
In the wake of concerns from key supporters, President Trump's promising $12 billion in one-time payments to farmers adversely affected when he hiked tariffs on imports and demand for U.S.-made goods abroad dropped. China's trade surplus has grown into record territory. NPR's Scott Horsley reports on the latest export figures from the world's second largest economy and other major developments traders are tracking.
China's exports to the United States have dropped sharply in the face of President Trump's tariffs, but China is still finding plenty of customers elsewhere around the world. The country's overall exports in November were up nearly 6% from a year ago, and China's trade surplus for the year topped $1 trillion for the first time. Paramount is challenging Netflix over its planned purchase of Warner Brothers Discovery. Paramount's going to shareholders with a counteroffer. President Trump said the Netflix acquisition, quote, could be a problem because the combined company's outsized market share. Scott Horsley, NPR News, Washington.
From Washington, this is NPR News.
Live from News 88.7 in Houston, I'm Alexandra Hart. New polling shows overwhelming support from Texas residents for major changes to the state's student testing system known as STAR. A new assessment structure was passed this summer in House Bill 8 during a special legislative session. As News 88.7's Bianca Seward reports, the revamped tests are scheduled to be taken during the 2027-2028 school year.
The poll from the think tank Texas 2036 of more than 1,000 Texas voters shows broad support in favor of the test's updates, including shorter exams, faster results, and cutting back on practice tests, all by margins of more than 50 points. STAR testing for years has been deeply unpopular in the state. Mary Lynn Prunetta with Texas 2036, who testified before the Texas legislature in favor of House Bill 8, says support for the new tests reflect more than just a desire for change.
Parents support an assessment system that gives them the information that they need to know how their kid is doing, but also they support an assessment system that minimizes its impact on the school year.
The state's teachers union opposed House Bill 8 and warned its changes rely on methods that have never been tried in Texas classrooms. I'm Bianca Seward, News 88.7.
President Trump is accusing Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar of disloyalty for not switching parties after receiving a pardon. Trump posted on his social media account his displeasure with Cuellar, who was pardoned last week on federal bribery charges. Cuellar has represented Texas's 28th congressional district since 2005. The Texans have worked their way back into the AFC playoff picture with a big win on the road in Kansas City. It was a 20-10 victory, and the Texans are now currently the last team in the playoffs if the season ended today after a rough start to the year. Jeff Balke with the Houston Press credits the defense.
They honestly, by the end of the season, they could be ranking with some of the best defenses of all time. I mean, it's a remarkable group. They're, somebody described them the other day as saying that they're fast, but they're violent. They hit hard, they hit clean.
Houston intercepted Patrick Mahomes 3 times in the win yesterday. The Texans now have won 5 games in a row. I'm Alexandra Hart, News 88.7.
Support for NPR comes from NPR stations. Other contributors include Progressive Insurance. Progressive is looking for dedicated and forward-thinking individuals to join their growing team. More information, including application, at progressive.com/careers.
Live from Houston Public Media and News 88.7, it's Hello Houston, an open forum on today's biggest stories affecting Houston and beyond. Call now, 713-440-8870, or let us know your thoughts on today's topics by emailing us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now, Hello Houston with Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
We're back.
A fun first hour.
That was interesting, and Abbie was certainly... she had a lot of good things to say about what's happening in the city.
Yeah, Abbie Kamin, who was on to talk about the new dashboard that's up to show gun violence, gun medical impact in the city. Yeah. I'm trying to think how to word it correctly because it's just not. It's gun violence, I guess.
Well, and it's a good. She was saying 70% of that kind of
isn't reported.
Of gun accidents aren't reported, and you've got to know about them.
Yeah.
If you're going to educate people on how to prevent them, so that's a great. So your any treasure you miss?
Oh, yeah. Then the second interview we had was The Lost Treasures of Houston. And what I was saying to you in the break that is so funny, it's not exactly an answer to your question, but it's how many things were in the book that I didn't realize were gone. And he was saying the same thing, our guest, that, he's not really observant in that way. And I guess you drive through, if you're not in a neighborhood all the time, but you used to be, and then you drive through and you're like, oh my God, everything has changed here because we evolved so quickly.
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun stuff that was on here, but like Langford's is still there.
I don't know what Langford's is.
Langford Grocery?
It's still there?
Yeah, I'm seeing a nod from folks here. Yes, it's still there.
You know,
and they've actually expanded. Now they have a second one in Bel Air, I think.
I grew up with Shoney's Big Boy, which here was called Kip's Big Boy. They had the big guy out.
They don't have those anymore?
I don't think there are.
See, that's what you're going to hear from me all day. I'm going to be like, they don't have that anymore? Weingarten's Department Store, Wiener's Stores, Foley's Downtown we talked about, Two Pesos, King Fish Market, Apple Tree. Well, Apple Tree was a chain. Bel Air Broiler Burger. There's one I didn't realize wasn't around anymore. Yeah. Is that gone? Anyway,
apparently
it's kind of fascinating, the things that come and go. Do you have some favorite things? Share them with us. We'd love to hear them. 713-440-8870. What are some of the things out there in Houston that made Houston home for you, but now are gone,
Yep. Things change.
Things do change. And so does the weather. How's the weather changing out there?
You know what? It's going to warm up, but it's cold today, in the 50s all day long.
Yeah.
And then overnight tonight dropping to 40, 42. So it's going to be a chilly morning tomorrow. And then we'll get back up slowly but surely into the 60s by Wednesday, if not the 70s, and then the 70s by Thursday for sure. So we're going to warm up slowly but surely, and it doesn't look like much rain.
Oh, well, that's good.
So dry.
So enjoy your week and your great week weather. And when you do, think of Frank.
I think of me. But with the shopping and all for Christmas, some of us have not done any yet. It's important to have dry weather. Because if you don't want to get out of all the nasty stuff.
There.
Yeah. So
as we're chatting, people are adding more memories over our HuTubers over on YouTube. That's the group that watches us on our YouTube channel. Go there, watch, join in the fun over there, and chat in the comments there. Some more things that came up. I don't know this. Toddville Mansion?
Yeah, I don't know the Toddville Mansion.
Well,
it's probably down there probably on Toddville Road over there on Clear Lake. I'm guessing.
I don't know.
There's
Dallas
a lot of big houses down there.
Dallas Home wrote about that. Dallas, tell us a little bit more about the Toddville Mansion. I'd love to know more. 59 Diner.
I love 59 Diner.
Yeah.
What was the other place that was so good that had the best chicken fried steak and broccoli cheese casserole and everybody? It was over there on West Gray, and there was another one in Bel Air that I think became a bowling alley. It was just kind of good country. I mean, it didn't go away that long ago.
Rice grocery stores. Are all the Rice grocery stores gone now?
Yeah.
Rice Epicurean are all gone?
They're all gone.
See, there I am. This is what's bad about me for a book like this is it makes me very sad. Because I'm like, oh, that's gone too. Oh, that's
because your memory's gone too.
Well, then I would think it was new again. Yeah. Anyway, keep sharing those with us. We'll keep looking in on those. But as always, our show goes on. We're going to be talking about in just a little bit what's going to happen with the expiring Obamacare subsidies. The ACA, we'll be talking about that in just a little bit. But up first, it's the headlines. And Frank, a big shift going on out there.
I mean, Democrat Colin Allred dropped the bomb, didn't he? He's out of the U.S. Senate race.
Yeah.
I know, but that's not to say he won't run. He's going to run for Congress next year in the newly drawn one of these gerrymandered districts, 33. And he announced this just hours before the deadline for candidates to file. Allred leaves the Democratic race for U.S. Senate just hours before Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett is expected to join. Crockett's planned a special announcement this afternoon. I got a notice about that in my email. That's at 4:30. So the deadline for candidates to file to run statewide and for federal offices in Texas next year is today at 6 p.m. So it's got to all be done today.
Right.
I think Allred was facing, if you have an opinion on this, leave us your thoughts, 713-440-8870. I think part of the impetus behind this was that he's really facing a tough one with Tallarico entering the race.
Yes.
There were some polls done, and Colin came in last. He's saying, I don't want to split the party up too much. I want the Democrats to have a clear winner in the Democratic primary to go into the main Senate run. And he felt like between Tallarico and Crockett, he was
Well, and
probably
that's-
not going to win anyway. So,
Yeah.
but what's interesting is to go to the 33rd district in Dallas,
Mhm.
he had to leave that when he ran against Ted Cruz for Senate. So he left that in 2023-4,
Mhm.
and the woman who replaced him, she still wants that seat. She doesn't. It's
Right.
like, hey, you left. Why are you coming back? And he feels like, well, I grew up in this district. Despite the fact that it's been gerrymandered, there's still a very good chance that it will go Democrat, either between her or him. And so he wants to go back and still be in some kind of government.
I'm happy he has made the choice he did. I am interested in seeing what Jasmine Crockett decides to do today. All points tend to point towards she's going to enter the Senate race. But the problem is she is and this has nothing to do with who the candidates are. It's purely from the jockeying for position point of view. Jasmine Crockett has a really big name and a big personality and's out there, and a lot of Democrats know who she is. So she has a better chance, I believe, of getting in the primary, getting the nomination from the Democratic Party over Tallarico. When you then take it to a major race between a Democrat and a Republican, Tallarico polls better than any of the other Democrats facing up against a Republican. So it may be easier for Jasmine to get the nomination, but not for her to win the race. It may be harder for Tallarico to get the nomination, but a better chance of winning the race.
So where do we go from here?
Right. So I really hate the idea. I mean, I love Jasmine Crockett. I love Tallarico. I don't love as Colin Allred did, stepping out of the infighting, because then I think it makes it harder for a candidate to come forward. Already on the Republican side, we know there's going to be infighting. We're already watching that play out between Paxton and Cornyn. And also with the third candidate in that race too. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Republicans do. But when all's said and done, who is the best suited Democrat, if you're on the Democratic side, to win that race? And it looks like it would be Tallarico, at least at this point. Now, Jasmine doesn't attract from the other side as much as Tallarico does. That's why he has a better chance, because he's seen more as a moderate. She's a bit of a firebrand. That's my opinion on it.
That's a good opinion to have. It's going to be interesting. She is quick-witted.
Oh,
and she's fun to listen to and fun to watch, whereas he comes from this sort of choir boy, Presbyterian upbringing, very strong faith, and doesn't seem too far left by any means. And I think, in fact, he's probably known as someone who makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, very smart, very centrist,
Yeah.
can talk to both sides. His faith background gives him an edge, I think, in reaching across the aisle, because I think disenfranchised or unhappy Republicans can look at Tallarico and feel like he aligns with their philosophies a little bit better, where I think Jasmine Crockett definitely riles up the Democratic Party, brings a lot of excitement there, but I don't know what she can do across the aisle.
Well, you be my fact checker on this.
Okay.
Charlie Parker says, I'm glad Colin dropped out because he takes corporate money, and James Tallarico does not take corporate money nor PAC money, and he will work for the people. Is that true?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And the reason I say it that way, I believe Tallarico made a point of saying, he's raising money from the people, not the PAC money and all that.
Well, I
but
know-
you never know what happens when you get in a tight race with politicians today, and when everything's at stake, how much do you reach into other coffers?
And let me tell you, commercials are going to cost a fortune this year because there's so many hot spots, especially in Texas.
Right.
So you're going to need money if you're going to run. That's for sure. It's interesting because Tallarico's running against the billionaires. He's not really running against Republicans per se. He's running against the ones with the money that are keeping all of the other people down.
So what do you think? 713-440-8870. Do you think if you're a Democrat, who do you like in the race? Is it Jasmine Crockett if she announces she's going to do it, or is it Tallarico? Or if you're a Republican, or one of those you fear more than the other when it comes to the race? Or if you're a Republican, do you think, it's a great exercise for the Democrats. Texas is red. We're staying red. Ain't nothing going to happen here. Once the primary's over, we'll know who our next senator is going to be because it's going to be the Republican. What do you think?
So let me ask you this.
Okay, what?
All right, so U.S. Representative Julie Johnson in Dallas, who Colin Allred will run against, is an openly lesbian, gay person, LGBTQ, and the only one elected to Congress from Texas.
Okay.
So she is sort of saying, why would someone step in? And if they do, they're going to take that one real gay ally away from if he wins, clearly.
Right.
But should that really be considered?
I would look at that totally differently. I don't know how she is perceived in her district. I don't know that district well enough. I don't know how connected she is. I don't know exactly what it encompasses, too. He was there before her. She is now there. I don't know enough to know what that is. Sometimes I feel that feels a bit like a spoiler when you come back to a seat you have left to go for something else. But, politicians, they're political animals and they work their way through this. So I don't know if that even answers your question.
Yeah.
I would like to think that people in a community vote for the people that really represent them and bring the issues of their community forward, regardless of anything about their personal identity. And so if they happen to be an LGBTQ community and she represents that well and they feel that that's what they want, so be it.
Well, we'll see, I guess.
Yeah.
So we got Earl Grey T-Cat says, I think Tallarico has a better chance.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, Wine Goddess Texas says, I would prefer Jasmine or Jasmine? Jasmine Crockett to stay in the House of Representatives to continue the fight. Tallarico stepping out of his state legislative seat is not as impactful if he loses.
That's very true because he is a Texas state senator as opposed to Jasmine Crockett, state representative, as opposed to Jasmine Crockett, who's a U.S. representative and has been very vocal on the national scene. And I don't even know what's going on with her district if she steps out. What happens to her
wasn't there
district?
kind of a plan between all of them that Jasmine Crockett would run for the House and Tallarico would run for the Senate and Colin Allred would run for governor? And it's sort of like we'll all run for something but not against each other. And now this has all sort of come up. Oh, by the way, the chicken fried steak, black-eyed pea. Black-eyed pea. Thank you, Kelly from Timber Grove Heights.
Black-eyed pea, yes, they're gone too. In case you're wondering why in the world we're suddenly talking about that earlier, we were talking about lost
no
things
longer
that
there,
are no
that
longer
was
around.
So good.
713-440-8870. Give us your thoughts on what's going to happen. We will find out at 4:30 today what Jasmine Crockett is planning. So I have a funny feeling we'll be talking about this again on tomorrow's show. Something we will be talking about for the next few weeks are we're seeing an awful lot of nominations come out right now. The Critics' Choice made their nominations for entertainment, tops in entertainment at the end of the week. And today, the Golden Globes joined in with their nominations for all the categories, including Best Motion Picture. See, Golden Globe's a little different than everybody else. They have Best Motion Picture Drama, Best Motion Picture Musical or Comedy, and now they have a new category they've been doing, Cinematic and Box Office Achievement, which is the one for whoever made the most money. We should recognize those films. So I'm pretty surprised. I don't know that I have a favorite in what's in the running. I don't know that I even know all the films that are listed, especially when you get to Best Motion Picture Drama. We have Frankenstein, Hamnet, It Was Just an Accident, The Secret Agent, Sentimental Value, and Sinners. Of those, I have seen 2. I know about 2 more, and I don't know about 2 at all. So it's an odd year.
I've only seen 1. That's all Frankenstein.
What did you think of Frankenstein?
Oh, that's all right. It sort of grew on me. The more I stuck with it. But I was on a plane, and so I had it on my Netflix, and there really wasn't anything else for me to do.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I would have stuck with it if I'd been at home. I might have said, you know what, let's just move on to something else.
There was a lot of talk about Frankenstein in the idea that Netflix kind of underplayed it in the theaters and by doing so kind of ruined its chances. And then when it made it onto the platform, it was after Halloween, after that whole push of that kind of a film, even though it's a more of a gothic romance thriller kind of thing. And
I do think Jacob Elordi was excellent.
Oh, well, he's good in everything.
He's good in everything. But
he's really found his place. Over in the musical comedy category, there's Blue Moon, Begonia, Marty Supreme, No Other Choice, Nouveau Vogue, I think is how you say it.
I haven't seen any of those.
Vogue, or One Battle After Another. I guess my biggest surprise in that category is One Battle After Another. It doesn't really strike me as a comedy, nor did Begonia, so I'm very... or a musical, definitely. So I'm very surprised how they define these anymore today.
Who runs the Golden Globes? Do you know?
It's the Foreign Press.
And who's that?
It has grown in its membership group. It used to be a much tighter group of only, I think, 50 or 60 critics made the decisions for it.
Foreign newspapers?
Yes, all foreign press.
No United
States.
There
may be
press.
A U.S. person that may represent a foreign publishing house, but I'm not exactly sure who it is now. But
are they the voting members?
Yes, they
of
made
who
a
wins?
big thing where they opened it up and tried to make that pool more diverse, but it's still a very small group.
Well, you kind of say, well, who cares what the foreign press thinks? But these do sort of give you an idea of who may win the Oscar.
Oh, they definitely impact what happens moving forward. All of these races that'll start happening, you'll be able to see who wins the Golden Globes on January 11th. I know I'm a voting member in SAG-AFTRA for the SAG Awards, and we don't give our nominations for a while yet. So we're still holding off before we nominate, but it's good because then you get to see all the different things that are coming up. And then
you snuck into that group.
Yeah, I did, being a broadcaster and all.
I tried. I thought, I played a weatherman for 42 years on television. Can I not be?
You didn't just play him. You lived the role.
I lived the role. I was Frank Billingsley. And so but I can't get a SAG-AFTRA card because I don't have the right credentials.
Really?
Yes. So what do they want from me? I got to go be in a movie somewhere.
I will tell you this to get into SAG. I'll tell this story again as we get toward the SAG Awards, I'm sure. But I was doing a Susie Orman pledge special, and they were nationals, and they called us, and they were like, we can't air Susie Orman's pledge special in the United States if Ernie's not a member of SAG because he's been in too many of them now. So I had to join and become a SAG member, and I keep my membership up because it allows me to vote in the SAG Awards, which has nothing to do with the Golden Globes.
And yet I played a weatherman for 42 years, and I can't be in the group.
My British computer guy says Frankenstein was great, and Ernie Manu says Frank Billingsley was even better.
Oh, yeah. Because you're in SAG-AFTRA and I'm not.
We have a lot more to still chat about today, but we invite you to share your thoughts with us at 713-440-8870.
Bitter party of one. Bitter party of one.
Still to come on the show today, we're going to be speaking about Obamacare subsidies. What happens if they expire? What does it mean?
There's a lot to talk about. Emma Wager's here to talk about it. We'll come back with her shortly.
Hi, I'm Michael Schaefer. My partner Ellen and I have been proud supporters of public radio and TV for decades.
We really would be lost without our daily fix of unbiased national and local news, cultural programming, and great entertainment.
But with recent federal defunding, stations like Houston Public Media face real challenges.
Now's the time to step up.
Give now at houstonpublicmedia.org.
Thank you.
And pushing to keep more defendants awaiting trial in jail. It's all part of a broader tough on crime agenda. But opponents say stricter pretrial policies lead to overcrowded jails and more plea deals. We unpack the latest debate over the centuries-old practice, overhauling the bail system, next time on 1A.
Hi, I'm Manoush Zamarodi, and our world is changing so fast. On the TED Radio Hour, we invite innovators, researchers, and activists to unpack those changes with us.
Just about all companies are becoming technology companies or technology-enabled companies.
Listen to the TED Radio Hour from NPR every week for conversations that will deepen your understanding of our changing world.
The TED Radio Hour, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. on News 88.7.
Support comes from Central Market Holiday Meals, offering chef-prepared meals, mains, sides, and desserts. A variety of smoked hams and beef roasts are also available for pre-order. Menu at centralmarket.com.
Support comes from Visit Galveston, highlighting holiday shopping in historic downtown Galveston, where the Strand and Post Office Street feature local shops, galleries, and antiques reflecting the island's coastal character. More at visitgalveston.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. Now back to Ernie Manous, Celeste Diaz-Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
Over with our YouTubers on YouTube that follow along, we often put up a daily poll, a few throughout the hours, maybe even. And one of our polls was, do you believe vaccines are effective? Something we were talking about in the first hour. And I'm happy to say, of our poll respondents, 82% say yes, definitely. 18% came in at mostly, but not 100%, and not sure and not at all. Got no replies from our YouTubers.
But will they be covered by insurance in the future? And will they be twice the costs? We're going to talk about that. Congress racing against the clock as expiring subsidies under the Affordable Care Act threaten to drive up insurance premiums for millions of Americans, potentially doubling what people pay starting next year, which isn't that far away, by the way, next year. What Republicans consider various fixes so far have left consumers uncertain and worried about their coverage and their health care costs. So joining us now to explain what lawmakers are weighing, what's at stake, what might come next is Emma Wager, Senior Policy Analyst at KFF, a nonprofit health policy research, polling, and news organization. Emma, welcome to Hello Houston.
Thank you for having me.
We're glad you're here. If anyone has a question for Emma, 713-440-8870. All right, break it down for us. Why can they not get this fixed? Is it just too political?
Well, it's a very complicated issue. These enhanced premium tax credits, which are very different from the original set of premium tax credits that were passed with the original Obamacare law, these enhanced ones were passed in 2021. Part of a COVID-era relief package, and extended in 2022 through 2025. So the original way that they were designed was to expire at the end of this year. That being said, there's been a lot of changes to the healthcare marketplace. Things have gotten more expensive, and a lot more people have signed up. So when we talk about these subsidies expiring, it's going to affect, 22 million people who are going to see their premiums increase and the amount that they have to pay every month increase dramatically.
But when you talk about the enhanced credits, if those hadn't gone into effect during the COVID era, where would we be today? Would we still be facing these same higher premiums and all of that? Because this was added in the last few years. So what would the marketplace have looked like had that never happened?
Well, it's very difficult to say, especially as they were part of a COVID relief package. COVID changed a lot about healthcare in the country. But it's likely that we would have just seen premiums continue to increase, potentially at the same rate that they have. And we would be dealing with these extremely high prices anyway. So it's difficult to say. We do know that there would probably be way fewer people in the marketplace if these enhanced subsidies had not passed. They brought a lot more people into the ACA marketplace. A lot more people have their insurance through Obamacare now than it did 5 years ago before these tax credits were in place.
But that's a good thing, right? I mean, the more people that participate in any insurance program, the more money is there to help people when they need the money. So it's good that more people are involved, but it doesn't seem to be helping the bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, it is great to have a more diverse, larger risk pool that will, in general, keep prices a little bit lower and keep things more stable. But it is, I mean, obviously true that healthcare in America just keeps getting more and more expensive.
Yeah.
And we see, drug prices have gone up, hospital prices have gone up. There's very little that is being done to address that right now. And the result is that people just face higher and higher premiums.
People hear this conversation a lot. We're talking about it all over the news. It's in newspapers. Everyone is hearing about this. Explain exactly what this would mean to working families. What's at stake if these enhanced subsidies go away at the end of the year? What are we actually, how would we feel this as individuals?
So the people who will feel this primarily and immediately are the people who get their insurance coverage through the individual market. So if you get your coverage through your employer or through a family member's employer, this won't be an immediate impact for you. And if you have Medicare or Medicaid, you won't feel this immediately. But if you purchase insurance for yourself or your family on the individual market, then you will notice almost immediately in 2026 a large premium increase because the amount that you get in your subsidy every month from the government is going to decline pretty dramatically. So the people who are actually going to feel this the most in that group are the people who earn a little bit more, the people who earn about 400% of the federal poverty line or higher, which for a family of four is about $125,000, $130,000 a year. Those people are going to lose access to their entire subsidy if the tax credits are not extended. So they'll be on the hook for the entire cost of the healthcare premium for their family, which is extremely expensive. And how expensive that is varies based on where you live, how old you are, how many people you're covering. But to have that help that's been there for about 5 years be removed suddenly is going to be a very, very large and noticeable shift.
It seems like it's hard to break down exactly what kind of money we're talking because, like you said, where you live, how old you are, how good your health is. Can you give me some idea? I mean, if I was covered under the Affordable Care Act and my monthly was $1,000, what's it going to go to now? $2,000, $3,000, or can you even give me a guess?
So on average, we found that the average enrollee can expect a premium payment increase of 114%.
Okay.
So if you have $1,000 a month, if you're the average enrollee there, that's going to be over $2,000 that you're paying now.
Wow.
Obviously, that varies a lot just based on all the factors we already discussed. But for some people, it is going to be higher. Some people may be facing, $1,500 a month increase, $2,000 a month increase even. It's going to be very dramatic for a lot of people.
And what are they going to do about it? What can they do about it?
That's a great question. And it's one without an easy answer, unfortunately. I think that there are a couple of options if people are going to stay in the marketplace. You can look at for maybe a plan that's less expensive, has a lower premium, that doesn't come without trade-offs, unfortunately. So you may have a higher deductible, more cost sharing, less generous coverage. You'll have to make whatever choice is right for your family and your health situation. But when KFF did a poll on this recently, we asked people, what would you do if you were facing this sort of steep increase? A lot of them said that they would have to give up their health insurance. They'd have to be uninsured, which is a very financially risky decision. There were a couple of other things that people also mentioned. One of them was, they said, I have individual marketplace coverage because my job doesn't offer me health insurance. I would go get a new job potentially that does, so that I could stay covered and that my family could stay covered. So, these are major life decisions that people are facing and major choices that they have to make.
For the everyday person listening right now who may not necessarily feel as though it's going to impact them, when people drop out of an insurance system like that, the impact it has on the whole community when folks are uninsured, talk a tiny bit about that. I know that's not exactly where your survey went in this, but your understanding of this whole issue.
Yeah, so having a significant portion of people becoming uninsured affects everybody. And there are several reasons why, but I think the main reason and the easiest to understand is that maybe you decide that you can't afford health insurance this year, and so you are going to be uninsured. That doesn't prevent you from getting sick. It doesn't prevent you from getting injured, unfortunately. So if you have a bad diagnosis, cancer, or if you're in a severe accident or something bad happens to a member of your family and you suddenly need healthcare, you can't choose to go without it without risking your health, then somebody is paying for that care that you're receiving. You're still going to be able to get it, but for hospitals, especially, rural hospitals, they're providing that for you and it's uncompensated. They're not getting reimbursed for it. And so when you have hospitals, especially, as I said, in more rural areas that have very, very thin margins, and they're looking at their balance sheets and they're saying, we have to raise prices because we're covering this significant increase in uncompensated care. So who are they raising prices on? Everybody. That includes people who have employer-sponsored insurance. That includes people who get, their insurance from other places.
So people who feel
have
safe,
higher prices.
People who feel safe because they're on different insurance programs, they will be impacted by this. It impacts the entire industry. Yes. And you made just a little side note here. I pulled this up earlier today. You were talking about households that were 400% of the federal poverty level. It's a lot lower than you would think that would be for a single person. That's only someone making $62,000, a little more than that a year. For a couple, it's $84,000 a year. It's much lower than you think when we talk about 400% the poverty level, but that just also shows you how low the poverty level is, but how much of a wide group of people in this populace could be affected by this immediately. It's massive.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people, they think that, oh, somebody who is 400% of the federal poverty level, they're not struggling. But I don't think anybody hearing the numbers would say that that individual is high income. And
Right.
especially looking at how much premiums cost when you're paying for them out of pocket, it's quite unaffordable.
Emma, we're speaking with Emma Wager, by the way, about Obamacare and the subsidies or lack thereof, the ones that are expiring. If you have a question, 713-440-8870. We had a YouTube comment. I'm really curious to know how many folks who voted Republican are being affected by this. Is your nonprofit agency able to break down whether Republicans, independents, or Democrats are going to be more affected one way or the other?
Yes. So we've looked a little bit at some of that data, and we've primarily looked at, where people live. It's not obviously a perfect indicator of how they vote, but we have found that especially when you look at congressional districts, so many of the congressional districts with the highest ACA enrollment are Republican districts, and many of them are in the South. So when you look at Florida, Georgia, Texas, Mississippi, South Carolina, these places have, maybe 10% or more of their populations are enrolled in Affordable Care Act marketplace plans.
So why aren't they on the phone?
I can't answer that.
Yeah.
What you could maybe answer is we've heard a lot from Trump and the Trump administration. We're going to have our health care plan out in 2 weeks, in 2 weeks, in 2 weeks. It's been going on for 8-9 years now. Is there an alternative plan that has been shared that is taking into consideration what's about to happen and how it would offset these costs to the populace?
So there are several plans that have been created and floated within the halls of Congress. However, none of them have come to a vote yet. Currently, they're all sort of focusing on some of the same ideas. Some of them are slightly different. But there are a few Republican proposals that involve extending the tax credits, at least temporarily. Some have other provisions or other things tied in, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with that.
What do you think about catastrophic health insurance? I know a lot of guys before Obamacare that they couldn't afford insurance in the private market, but they could afford catastrophic insurance policies. So if they did get something obviously catastrophic like cancer, they were at least covered for the biggies. Is that becoming more popular? Is that at least a viable alternative for some people?
A catastrophic plan can be a viable alternative if other insurance is simply unaffordable. Where you run into issues with the catastrophic plan, however, is just that because the deductible is so high, because you have to pay out of pocket for so much, you will likely, if you have a catastrophe, your coverage will kick in eventually, but not until you've already spent a good deal out of pocket. So if you have a catastrophic plan and you have a deductible, in the thousands and thousands of dollars, you're still going to have to pay that if you have a major illness or injury.
Well, but
and catastrophic plans also. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Well, if your subsidies go away, and let's say you're at $3,500 or even $4,000 a month, and I know some people who are, and the subsidies are still there, and they're at $4,000 a month. So let's say you go to $6,000 a month. Well, you do the math on that, then it's almost cheaper to find a catastrophic with a $15,000 deductible.
Yeah, I mean, that's a calculation that a lot of families are going to have to make. And I think that, most people in my position would say that a catastrophic plan is better than being uninsured, almost certainly.
Yeah.
It's not ideal in most situations, but I think if that's your choice.
You would think some companies, Aetna, Blue Cross Blue Shield, somebody would kind of swoop in and say, okay, let's be here for these people. We'll figure out a way to give them affordable insurance. It won't be as good as they got, but it'll be better than they're going to get. And we will make the money. So why are private insurance companies not stepping up and trying to fulfill some part of this role?
That's a good question. I think most private insurance companies do offer, coverage on the ACA marketplace, and there are rules and regulations that come with that. There are certain things that you have to cover as a plan offering coverage on the marketplace, certain essential health benefits. There's rules about who you can and can't cover and how much you can charge them. So I think that insurance companies are really beholden to those rules, and they've set their prices accordingly when you're talking about the marketplace.
We're speaking with Emma Wager, who is a senior policy analyst at KFF, about the expiring Obamacare subsidies. If you want to join the conversation, 713-440-8870. We have Anastasia on the line from Humble. Anastasia, what's your comment or question?
Well, it's a combination of comment and question. If you were to try to apply for Medicaid, there are resource limitations as well as income limitations, obviously. So there's like a closing of the gap. But I am a perfect example of someone who is able to get a huge amount of subsidies on Obamacare. And all I have to do is make sure I keep my dividend income and my interest income below a certain threshold. And I was wondering if this expert had an idea of what percentage of people who may have huge resources are just able to qualify for such large subsidies that perhaps really don't need to have those subsidies. They could pay for the insurance themselves. And then the comment I want to make is I haven't noticed any increase in my premiums, going in this year yet. And I was wondering, I'm logged in, I finished my healthcare.gov, and I see the premium is the same as last year, and the subsidies are just as high.
Anastasia, I'm going to pause you there because I want to make sure we have time to get to the answers to your questions. So thank you for calling. Emma, take it away.
Thank you, Anastasia. I think it's a good question when you talk about the resources that people have aside from income. That's a difficult thing to measure. And, a lot of these subsidies are designed to make sure that the people who get the coverage really need it, but also the people who really need it do get it. So the more that we have these questions about resources and stuff, I think when the law was designed, it was more designed to make sure that people who needed this coverage could get it. And with regards to you saying that you went into healthcare.gov and you noticed that your premium had not gone up, that's fantastic for you if that's the amount that you still feel comfortable paying. So I think that probably won't be the experience for many people when they log into healthcare.gov and choose their coverage for next year. But I'm glad that was your experience.
We have another call. I did want to get to this comment because it's important to note that Obamacare does not deny you coverage because of prior procedures or prior maladies that you've had. So that on the private insurance platform, you might not have that advantage. So there is that. James is on the line from Seabrook. Hello, James. What's your question or comment for Emma?
Yeah, hi there. I just wanted to say that, as a person paying for ACA, I don't qualify for any subsidies. I know what my payment's going to be for next year. I went from $1,300 for my wife and I to $2,300 starting in January. Everybody has to sign up by December the 15th, so everybody should know what they're going to pay. I did notice that there were new options for catastrophic plans. I was very surprised to see that they actually cost more than a regular ACA plan, and I wondered if you know why that would be.
Okay, James, let's find out. Emma.
Thanks, James. I'm not entirely sure why the coverage or why a catastrophic plan would cost more than, a standard qualified health plan in your particular area of the market. The pricings can be very variable depending on where you live and which companies are offering what. So it may be that the company that's offering you your best option does not offer a catastrophic plan, and the companies that do, their premiums are higher at every level. So that's my
Emma,
best guess.
I hope as this unfolds, you'll come back and help us make sense of it. We really appreciate you being here on Hello Houston today.
Thank you so much.
Okay, Emma Wager is a senior policy analyst at KFF. So there you go. We're going to figure it out one way or another. Right?
We'll figure it out.
I know. Coming up, a look at the Heritage Society at Sam Houston Park. Stay with us as Hello Houston continues.
It's not just your car. It's the one that brought your kids home from school, took you cross-country, held memories, laughter, even a few breakdowns. When it's time to let go, give your car a new purpose. Donate it and turn memories into meaningful support for this station. Plus, you'll enjoy free and easy pickup, potential tax benefits, and a simple donation process. Your gift supports the programs you and your family love. Donate today and help keep public media strong. Call or donate online.
I want to make a movie about this.
The Arts Hour brings you film.
The themes in it are so far ahead of their time.
Books.
The detail is amazing.
Art.
There's all the personal stuff.
Theatre.
Lots of singing and dancing and colours.
Music.
The dance floor is made for dancing.
And everything in between.
I want it to be exciting.
That's The Arts Hour with me, Nikki Beatty.
I really identified with it.
From the BBC.
The Arts Hour, Friday nights at 9 on News 88.7.
Scientists have discovered millions of new species on Earth since the 1700s, and we are averaging 17,000 more every year. But how many more are there?
The range of estimates of how many species are out there are from the low millions to the low trillions.
I'm Mary Louise Kelly. The mission to better understand life on our own planet, on All Things Considered from NPR News.
Houston Public Media is a service of the University of Houston and is supported with your gifts to the Houston Public Media Foundation. More information available online at houstonpublicmedia.org/donate.
Support comes from Discovery Green Conservancy, presenting Carols on the Green with Houston Grand Opera, December 13th at 7 p.m., hosted by Jorge Perotti and open to the public. Details at discoverygreen.com.
And now back to Hello Houston. To comment on any of today's topics, call 713-440-8870 or email us at talk@hellohouston.org. And now here's Ernie Manous, Celestia Sherman, and Frank Billingsley.
All right, the Heritage Society is a nonprofit organization dedicated to sharing the stories of Houston's rich history through their museum gallery, exhibits, tours, and more. Founded in 1954, the organization has to date saved and restored 10 historic buildings from 1823 to 1905 in Sam Houston Park, which all serve as monuments to the city's past while also symbolizing its cultural legacy. To tell us more about their work, please welcome Alison Bell, Executive Director of the Heritage Society. Just mentioning that your husband's running for governor, but we're not going to talk about that.
No, we're not talking about that.
That's just full disclosure.
Yeah, just a full disclosure there. So, Alison, I've known you a long time.
Yes.
You do wonderful work with the Heritage Society, but a lot of people don't know much about it. They know those houses are there in Sam Houston Park.
Yes.
Tell us what all you do.
Sure. Those houses have been there. Like you said, the reason we started in 1954 was the Kellum Noble House was a brick plantation. And in the 50s, the city was going to tear it down, and some active preservationists at the time, one of which was I'm a Hog, went literally to city council and begged for them not to tear down the house because it had so much rich history. And from there, it just took off. The next house they brought in was the William Marsh Rice's house. And then they brought in, they found that cabin, as you mentioned, the 1823. So if you think about it, in the 50s, there was not a preservation effort. There was not Preservation Houston back then that would go save houses in the neighborhood. So they wanted to get them out of the neighborhood and restore them in our park.
But see, that seems odd and unique at the same time that we bring these houses to a place to have them. Do other cities do that? Is this common practice, or is it unique to us?
We're very unique. I will say that there was a Dallas Heritage Society up until about a year ago, and sadly it did close down. They did not... as what I understood is they did not have a great relationship with the city, and we have a wonderful relationship with the city of Houston, thank goodness. The Parks Department, we are in a city park, so the Parks Department does an excellent job of taking care of Sam Houston Park, and we have some wonderful council members that make sure that they take care of their buildings. All those buildings are owned by the city. We just maintain them and educate people.
It seems like a lot of fundraisers and morning walks and stuff kick off there at the park.
Absolutely. That's the mayor's office of special events.
Okay, so if someone wants to do that, how do they get in line?
So the Mayor's Office of Special Events has their own office, and they, if you might notice, they do everything from the Thanksgiving Day parade to the 4th of July events, and they're all over the city. But Sam Houston Park is literally across from City Hall, so they do have a lot of events there, as you say. Just this past weekend was the Ronald McDonald Fun Run. So we do work closely with them, and when there's not a big weekend, then we try to program in the park. We have tours, 4 tours a day. 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon. We get a lot of school groups that come in, a lot of senior citizens on buses, precinct buses. So we try to stay as much as we can unless there's some big fun run at the time.
So do you have docents that give tours, or do you have...
we always need more docents.
Yeah,
But yes, we do. We have a couple of paid docents. We used to, back in the day, before there was Bayou Bend, before there were all these other organizations, it was us. And we had 200 volunteers, 200 docents. There was a whole docent program. They had to take a test. And, those ladies have kind of gone away. But we still do have a few active docents. So anybody that wants to be a docent,
you talk about all the fun events that happen over there for the city. You folks have something coming up this weekend.
We do. Thank you for that plug-in. This weekend is our annual candlelight event. This is our 62nd year. We will be having candlelight on Friday night and Saturday night. We have 5 houses that will be decorated. We have a children's choir that will be singing in our beautiful church. We have some flutists who will be performing at the Kellum Noble House. So we also this year, for the first time, have a very large holiday market. It's called the Houston Heritage Holiday Market.
Oh, nice.
With over 40 vendors, 20 in the front and 20 in the plaza. And we have this wonderful woman who's putting it on for us, and we're looking forward to that as well.
Okay, forgive me. I've been to the park and seen the houses a million times. I don't think I've ever been in one. Can you go in them?
Really?
Maybe just like stuck my head in. Can you go in all 10?
Absolutely.
You can. So you can really go into
You can take a tour. We have curated tours such as a German history tour, a women's history tour, a black history tour. So you can pick houses that you want, or we can recommend the ones that are popular.
Any audio tours by chance? Or?
There is a free cell phone audio tour, but you can't go in the house. You have to be with a docent to go in the house.
Okay, so there are rules.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
so
I
that's
can't
why
just
I've never
leave the
been.
doors open.
That's why I've never been in. I guess I was always
Maybe
there.
not. When you were there down at the park, you probably just walked by and saw it. Yeah. Or like me, I used to drive 95 miles an hour down Allen Parkway, and I'd be like, "What is that?" And here I am.
And now it's all yours in a sense.
Yes, exactly.
So tell me a little bit about what you find surprising and what people find surprising visiting these houses.
Mostly, if I had $1 for everybody that said, "I've lived here my whole life and I never knew this was here." I mean, I went on a field trip when I was 13. I went to Lanier. Went to Will Rogers Lanier and Lamar. At Lanier, 1970. I shouldn't say my age. Never mind.
Do that.
In the 70s, I went on a field trip and I wrote a paper about the Little White Church in Sam Houston Park. And my mother took me to candlelight, so I'm familiar with it. I've known about it because I'm a native Houstonian.
The Heritage Society, is that? I spoke to your group?
Yes, Frank, you were our MC for our 2023 fall luncheon at the Briar Club.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Do you still do that?
We sure do. Our next luncheon is going to be next February 26th, and we're honoring John Now, who's very instrumental in
John's terrific.
Texas preservation.
When folks hear you're in a city park and they hear that you do work with the Mayor's Office of Special Events, but then they hear you talk about fundraising events, talk a little bit about why you need as an organization to raise money and what it costs to keep these houses up.
Absolutely. We are a nonprofit, and it does cost a lot to maintain the houses, to educate, we want to make sure that everyone knows about them. So we do have to raise money, and we are always actively looking for foundation money or corporate money because, again, we're on 20 acres. We have a lot to manage. We have possums, raccoons, and cats in the back, but the staff pays for those guys. So we're always trying to, raise money for an important event.
There are going to be people, the naysayers out there, they're going to say, they're old houses, we can read about them in books. Why do we need this? Why do we need the Heritage Society?
Because you won't know what your future is until you know your past. And so I think it's important to know how you survived. There was no electricity. There was no cell phone. So it's so
Imagine.
when they go in there and they start playing, you see these little kids and they'll play with these wooden toys called cup and ball. And they'll just sit there for hours just playing. And the parents are like, come on, we got to go. But they're fascinated because there's not a cord attached to it. You know, they're actually, so they learn what it was like to live in that period of time.
No air conditioning.
No air conditioning.
Do you have other places and other museums, or is it just the houses?
Just the house. Well, each one is a museum, and then we have our museum gallery. Right now, we have a beautiful exhibit called Coastal Cowboys. It's on loan from the Bryan Museum.
Oh, nice!
Thank you, Bryan Museum. We love them.
Yep.
And it talks about the cowboy coming into Texas, the trails. They used to go east and west. Then I learned they would go north and south because Charles Goodnight. You know, the whole Lonesome Dove story. We talk about what it's like to live out of a chuck wagon. So we change out our exhibits in our museum about every 6 months. So we had a beautiful exhibit last year about the Karankawa Indians, which nobody ever taught. We never had it. No, that's a myth. That was on the wall in our exhibit. That's
they
a
did
myth.
not eat people.
Did not eat people.
I'm glad that we got that clear.
But that's what we were taught in history when we were in elementary school.
Yeah,
that's what. So we debunked.
They were in
those
Galveston.
myths. Yes, all from Galveston up to Corpus Christi.
It's a fascinating place, a wonderful place to visit. What I like is when you're in there, your imagination can run wild. You see these houses, you see these settings, you start thinking about the people and what life was like, and also what they endured. When we complain about how hard we have it today, sometimes, and you go in these houses and you think,
and they have
no
chamber
AC,
pots.
Chamber pots.
Is there a website people can go to find out more?
Thank you. It's heritagesociety.org, O-R-G.
It has a list of everything you do and when you do it?
Absolutely, yes. And we'd love for people to come take a tour, especially if you're going crazy over the holidays and you want to get out of your house, bring your relatives.
And for the record, it was Alison who brought up the chamber pots, not us, Frank. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Alison Bell is the Executive Director of the Heritage Society. Thank you for coming and being with us today.
Thank you for asking me.
And as Celeste usually says, this brings us to the end of our show.
It does bring us to the end of our show.
We made it through. I thank you for listening and for watching on YouTube. Hello, Houston. We'll be back again tomorrow, and we're going to be taking a new look at a new study from Rice University about climate anxiety.
More climate stories.
More climate coming up right here on Hello Houston on News 88.7. See you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to Hello Houston. Join us every Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. to talk all things Houston. The Hello Houston production team includes Garrett Bowman, William Menjivar, Jen Altide, Todd Holslander, and Jim Kovacic. For the latest in local news, subscribe to the Hello Houston daily newsletter at houstonpublicmedia.org. Hello Houston is a production of Houston Public Media. The opinions expressed by the guests of this program are solely their own and do not represent the views of management, staff, or underwriters of Houston Public Media. This is News 88.7.
Support comes from GenPro, a Houston-based home generator service providing power to homes during unexpected outages. More information at genpro.com or by calling